Hey guys, it's Awesomemay, and there has genuinely not been an animated movie I've been this excited about, and that movie is Mutant Mayhem. I had a weird obsession with the original movies when I was younger, and then I had a weird obsession with the Michael Bay ones. I think younger me felt forced to like those movies so I could stay in the TMNT fandom. There was so much wrong with them, but there was something about the way the turtles looked and acted that made me weirdly addicted to those movies, and they became a guilty pleasure. The awkward timing was so bad it made those movies genuinely kind of good. I can't explain it. I replayed that elevator scene an unhealthy amount of times. And me and my dad had a huge TMNT phase right before this movie came out. We were rewatching the 1990 movies. We were reading the comics together. He voiced Splinter and Shredder. I voiced the Turtles. It was the craziest dub I've ever heard. Let me know if you guys want it. It was a great son and dad bonding experience. And ever since then, I've been planning the perfect way to see Mutant Mayhem. And this ended up working out in my favor because there was surprisingly an early screener near me. And that never happens where I live. Ever. So I think it was meant to be. I was meant to see this movie early. I got on my TMNT shirt and I watched it, and I thought it was actually pretty good. By pretty good, I mean the story was pretty good. The animation, however, was phenomenal. So many good designs, so many nice backgrounds and character features. This is like the first TMNT movie in a while where the characters feel like the comics. The characters are so expressive in this movie. The way April uses her hands when she talks is so human. It's so me, and I love it. I can't get enough of that aspect. Now, as for the actual script and comedy, I had some problems, which I'll get into, but just know that the good outweighs the bad no matter if I contradict myself or not. I also want to say how I think this movie will jumpstart a new wave of creative movies. And like I said in my animated movies video, thanks for 1 million, I think this movie has gone way beyond in style that we've seen from other animated movies. Like, yes, Captain Underpants, Spider-Verse, Peanuts all really embraced the animation and utilized that to give tribute to their story. And Spider-Verse also certified my reason for thinking that superhero movies work better in animation. Not just superhero movies, but any comic book-based movies. There's just so much you can explore with animation. And you can make a similar look to the medium it's inspired from, but nowhere near do I think any of the movies I previously mentioned get as crazy and a bit weird in style as much as Mutant Mayhem did. Like, this movie offers insane facial features. It isn't like Captain Underpants or Peanuts where they're different from the rest, but they still have that cute, appealing 3D look everybody loves and is okay with. Mutant Mayhem decides to not give a crap about cuteness and just makes it look so cool and insane and a little bit strange, and I love it. There's weird facial structures, and I was digging it. Also, another different aspect of this film is the fact that it doesn't have below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes like every other TMNT theatrical release. Also, how does the first one have 42% actually Rotten Tomatoes? Like, I get the third one. That was a weird side mission movie. It was like the 90s Cars 2. But the first one? That's a 90s classic, and it has below 50. This is like the equivalent to Alvin and the Chipmunks having 28%. Critics don't understand real cinema. If you guys want real rankings, follow my letterbox. Anyways, let's get into my real review, because I did see this movie, and I should talk about it instead of going on and on about Rotten Tomatoes. So strap in, like, and subscribe. And I guess I'm gonna say, like, cowabunga! Mutant Mayhem starts out so absolutely insane that I kind of wish it followed this weirdly ominous feel for the rest of the film. It's the darkest opening I've seen in an animated movie since, like, Big Hero 6 when they killed Tadashi in a blazing fire 10 minutes in. The animation looks so good and manages to be so vibrant and expressive even in the darkest scenes. And then from this huge opening, we get a good transition into mellow that I actually don't hate, despite wishing the intense vibe was kept for a little bit longer. It felt very coming of age and comfortable in the beginning. I really liked it. I felt like I could sit down in my chair and enjoy. It wasn't all in your face where you get confused and then zone out. Something I feel happened when I went to go see Mario Movie or Strange World. Something about turtle teenagers going to like a Dollar General or something and then watching a movie at an outdoor theater is so nostalgic for no reason. This is how I felt going to the aisle right next to the one my parents were in Walmart. I felt so mature being all alone in an aisle. And the music that is paired with these scenes makes it even better. I couldn't get enough of the sci-fi futuristic feel it had. Lots of plucking, lots of little electronic sounds that fit the feeling so well. Kind of remind me of some of the mellow music in Stranger Things. I think I should touch on the most obvious part of this film that makes it absolutely gorgeous and pushes it past the idea of it just being another animated movie, but more of an art piece that inspiring animators will use as inspiration for years to come. Literally every scene in this movie pushes the limits of animation. Not even just the overall style, but the creativity of how the characters come in and out of scenes. I can't tell you how many chills I got during this transition scene. Oh my god, the actual coolest scene I've seen in an animated movie, maybe even any movie that exists ever. And again, pair it with the music and it makes this scene have the ability to hype up any viewer. It feels like such a perfect period piece with the early 90s hip-hop. It never seems like there's too much loose air in this movie. Everything is constantly flowing and moving on. I do think a couple of the parts with Superfly were a bit rushed, and a lot of the parts with the villains felt like repeats of previous scenes. There's like 2 huge fighting scenes with the turtles and the villains that it unfortunately does make the movie feel like it's repeating itself halfway through. And I was kind of like, didn't we see this already? It's kind of how I felt with the Lego Batman movie where they beat off the bad guys and then 10 minutes later they have to do it all over again. And I get that something happens between these moments that make the characters have to fight again or whatever, but it definitely confused my stupid brain when I lost focus and was like, wait, didn't they already do literally all of this? They already fought. Why are we seeing this again? The scenes of the turtles just being teenagers was the highlight of this movie, and I'm so surprised we haven't gotten as much teenage as this from other TMNT renditions. I've heard Rise of the TMNT kind of explored it. I haven't seen it, but I also think that movie and series goes for a bit more of a dramatic lore-based feel rather than a fun teenage story. Again, from what I've seen. The theater I was at was mostly quiet, but then that grocery shopping scene came on and people were actually snorting. I heard someone next to me laughing so hard and maybe coughing up a lung when one of the turtles was getting the Doritos. That's how much this scene impacted this movie. The voice acting of the child stars felt so real and you could feel the Seth Rogen vibe seep through this. And I'm so glad all the kids were put into the same room to do these voices. I do, however, feel like they could have did that with more characters. Jackie Chan does not sound like he's in the same room as the turtles, and it does kind of take you out of the movie. So that's like my one gripe with that. Nicholas Cantu, also known as Gumball, also known as Junkie Janker in the Storytime animation era, absolutely killed it in this movie. And I won't be surprised if he becomes one of the biggest voice actors in the next few years. He is going to be our generation's Tom Kenny. His voice just reeks of teenager, and I don't know if it's because I'm biased because he did an end card for me 4 years ago, but you can tell he had a lot of fun being Leo. And don't even get me started on that one Instagram story he posted before this movie came out. Donatello, literally the best character. He's the perfect mix of smartness, awkwardness, and he's probably the most relatable and realistic one out of all of them. The animation with his character is so smooth. The kid voicing him had such an energetic voice, like I don't know what he was channeling, but he opened another dimension every time he was freaking out. He delivered Oscar-worthy performances. Before the movie came out, I saw lots of complaints about his character sounding so much younger than he should sound, which is stupid. Granted, there were some weird complaints about this movie in general. I don't know what was happening, but I didn't have a problem with his voice at all. He sounded like a teenager / tween, which he is. I'd much rather them sound younger than sound like grown adults. Imagine you pulled up to the theater expecting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but all the Ninja Turtles end up sounding like countrymen.
Well, nothing we can do. You guys want to get pizza?
No hate, but from the trailers, I wasn't too excited or impressed with the voice acting of Michelangelo. The lines just felt awkward and the delivery did not sound serious to me.
Yo, what happened? Is Donnie bleeding?
But after watching it, I actually did like his voice. The delivery ended up fitting his character. And of course, been killing it this year, specifically with comic book adaptations. Somebody needs to give Seth Rogen an award. Somebody needs to let Seth Rogen make a DC movie. He can save this comic book movie drought. And you can tell a lot of the jokes in this movie are written by him, and it has that super bad / good boys awkward humor that works with the coming of age stories. There are a lot of moments I do question to myself if this was actually written and produced by him though, because for being pushed as a comedy and focusing so much on that, I think they could have tried a bit more with the jokes. Don't get mad at me yet, I will explain. I think this movie goes too overboard with the comedy that it does start to ruin the awkward, wholesome aspects that I adore so much about the Turtles in the first few movies. This one, it feels like the Turtles are a bit too self-aware that it ruins them being almost oblivious to the ways of being ninjas. And although the movie tries its best to paint the Turtles as teenagers who mess up, it doesn't feel like they mess up enough for the conclusion to feel more necessary, because the movie establishes them as underdogs who are outcasts from society. but the turtles themselves are a little too normal for this to work. I don't know if this is a crazy claim. I just remember them being a lot more oblivious to their doings in the 1990 ones. Like, Raph was beating up random guys on the street, Michelangelo was grabbing pizza through the sewers, and they were a lot more dumber, and the reactions were so over the top that it made the comedy work with them. And with this movie, the comedy is too out there and almost reaching too on the nose, which kind of sucks because that could have been the best part of this movie, the comedy. And sure, yes, I will admit I thought the milking joke was funny. The BTS joke was great, and it weirdly worked with these characters. And the meta humor also works in this movie. It doesn't take you out of the story at all, but oh my god, does it feel like these jokes are just copy and pasted. The milking joke was funny, but it was not funny enough for how much they kept recycling it. And yes, it was funnier because they did end up actually getting milked, but when you touch up on the idea of them getting milked so many times, it doesn't become as funny when the foreshadowing slash setup happens. I think the comedy of this movie is at its strongest when it focuses less on being funny and more on the silliness of the turtles. Like, sure, I didn't laugh that much at that Brooklyn joke, but just seeing them be their goofy teen selves was amazing and really connected me to their personalities. And that's why I love the TMNT franchise. It's just oozing, no pun intended, of unforgivable fun. And then they tied it all together with April's reaction, and that's when I did laugh. The timing was great. The movie does its best when it allows these characters to be random without overthinking it. And these moments, similar to the shopping scene, don't give off the impression that it's forcing you to laugh. It's just exploring these characters and how they would act as young teens. It's a Turning Red situation where yes, the characters can be annoying or cringy, but that's on purpose. It's a coming of age story and it's realistic. Kids and teenagers say random things with the bros and they think it's hilarious even when it's not. And this movie captures that. Bravo! And I can't wait to see the crazy shenanigans they get into at school. That's gonna be so good. Then again, I don't know how I feel about the whole turtles wanting to go to school part of the storyline. It was a bit of a cheap cop-out in terms of character goals. It reminded me of Luca. The reason the turtles appealed so much to me and so many others is the fact that they get to escape from the world and live in a sewer and eat pizza and fight bad guys. So when you put them in school, they're just one of us, and that's boring. There's no escape from reality for us. I will say it's really funny that one of their motivations for going to school came from watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Which, not to be a smart aleck or anything, but wasn't the entire plot of that movie about a kid not going to school for a day? But I could be wrong. They could still explore the school part of the story in the sequel very creatively. Maybe that's where they meet Casey Jones. The movie could go even more Spider-Man, where the teenagers have to juggle school and fighting Shredder. I don't know. That's what I thought about the comedy. Moving on. Next, we got the characters, which I did touch up on, but I think this movie handles all of them really well. April O'Neil has the best comedic timing in this movie, and her reactions to everything that happens is so entertaining. I surprisingly really liked the vomit gag. I thought that was tied together really well. And I love how when she did do another news report at the end, she still threw up, but this time she didn't let that stop her, which is such a good little message inserted into this overall story. And although the movie could have gone harder on some of its messages, this part just shows how you can still have issues and anxiety, but you can do things anyway. She wiped the goop off her face and continued, and it was so powerful. I do wish we had Casey Jones and Shredder in this movie. I get that this movie is working up to Shredder, but if this movie ended up flopping, that would have backfired quite a bit. And it does kind of make this movie feel like a sequel to a non-existing movie. And I also don't think the villains are good enough for this being the first movie in a potential trilogy. I just feel like they promoted the heck out of the cast for these villains, and it didn't feel like they had enough time. Like Seth Rogen and John Cena being Bebop and Rocksteady was so perfect, and they barely talked at all. Superfly, however, is awesome, and I think he had a great backstory, but his character starts to get more confusing as it goes. And although it sets him up as the one who is not in the wrong and was kind of being abused in the past, it doesn't do a good job of keeping him as an anti-hero. He just ends up morphing into a blanked-faced generic villain, which kind of sucked, but I will forever love that 6 in the morning line / reference. The delivery is so satisfying, oh my god.
6 in the morning, police at my door.
Splinter has the biggest dad feel to him, and he really embraces that, and I wish I had him as a dad. I felt so bad that the teens were pushing him to the side, even when he put together a whole surprise party. They just dipped after that. This guy spent precious time finding these cutouts. You better get back in there. Enjoy your time with Splinter. If Splinter was my dad, I would be fishing with him. We'd be watching karate and Phineas and Ferb. He'd be laughing, telling me his ways of the ninja. Speaking of ninja, I do kind of hate that they took out the importance of the actual ninja aspect of this movie. I thought it was hilarious that they learned from videos and movies, and I thought the whole knife and leg scene was really good and showed their teenage optimism getting the best of them. And I can see how a lot of the comedy comes from them not being perfect, experienced ninjas. It's like a Spider-Man situation. But I do, however, wish they didn't take out the entire backstory of why they became ninjas. Splinter's whole backstory from the original, where he was taught ninjutsu by a master in order to one day defeat Shredder, was thrown to the side in this story. And that did give off an impression that the people behind this movie were more interested in the iconic characters they could work with rather than where they came from and their introduction into the ninja world. And going back to previous points, I don't need everything to be exactly like the original. I love how this movie keeps everything new and fresh, and where they let you down in terms of backstory, they make up for it in comedy and character moments. The only problem with this situation is the fact that they plan on having Shredder to be in the next movie, and due to the consequences of them changing Splinter's backstory, it won't be as intense. There's not going to be any correlation to Splinter and Shredder will end up just being another villain like Superfly, and not the big bad that he should be. But this isn't a huge complaint of mine because they could fix this in the second one. They could easily pull a Splinter was lying about his backstory situation. Maybe he's been keeping that a secret to not worry the teenagers, I don't know. Hopefully it's something like that. I will give them bonus points, however, for getting Jackie Chan in this movie. You can't have an animated movie about ninja brothers without Jackie Chan. That is a crime. If there's a Power Rangers animated movie, Jackie Chan needs to be in it. I always love his wholesome voice, and his voice just has a touch of that elderly confusion that works and makes it so fun when Splinter's on screen. Splinter can do no harm, he's adorable. Also, Mr. Beast was in this movie, and I had no clue. I guess Mr. Beast really just has that pedestrian voice, and it went over my head. By the way, if they need a voice for the second one, I know another YouTuber that would do it. I've seen a lot of complaints about this movie being a generic kids animated movie but disguised under that good animation layer, which I don't agree with because we have had the exact same quote-unquote disguised in good animation movies that everybody agrees sucks. We're all under the idea that good animation doesn't mean a good movie. Everybody hated the Smurfs animated movie. Hotel Transylvania 3 was not my cup of tea. But do I think the animation is bad? No, not at all. But I wouldn't say Mutant Mayhem comes close to being as generic as those movies. Like, sure, they have the good animation, but they don't have a good story. Mutant Mayhem, however, still feels like this movie is taking an extra step to appeal to a wide audience. Unlike these other movies. Like, sure, you got Riz and sus jokes in there, but they do it so effortlessly you just feel like it's part of their slang or language in this world. It isn't like Hotel Transylvania where you have to watch a guy being dumb for 10 minutes before you can laugh. This movie plays on the silliness of their situations. The turtles are able to make jokes and make light of the bizarre situations they're put in, and that's where the comedy derives from. I'd say the only joke I didn't think felt normal was the Drake mention, because that whole scene did not feel like it was playing on any humor. They were just throwing names around with no punchline. Saying you want to hang with Guy Fieri or Drake is kind of funny, but like, why? Why do you want to hang out with them? Give me a funny joke. You gotta mention a celebrity and then give a funny reason. That's how the joke should have played. The Adele mention, however, I did think worked because the punchline there is this idea of these really strong ninja teenagers all agreeing that they love Adele. That's random, and those types of jokes work because they have a punchline. There's this cleverness balance with the characters and the joke. Back to my point, I still don't think the plot or the story in this movie is amazing. That's where I agree with a lot of the reviewers who don't like the story. There's like a whole crew of people attacking anybody who says the story in this movie is not good. And it's so weird because the story is not good. Now, that doesn't mean I think the story is terrible. It's nowhere near being bad. It's just nowhere near being as good as people are making it seem. The animation? Spectacular. I couldn't be happier. The first 20 minutes of this movie might be the strongest opening to an animated movie ever. But the rest of the script, however, isn't as strong. The fight scenes in the beginning are really good, But when you get to the ultimate battle with the Turtles versus Superfly, it isn't as entertaining to me. There's too much stuff happening all at once that's distracting, and we don't see clear reactions from the Turtles as much as we should have. The first fight scenes in this movie are so good because it captures the feelings the Turtle teens are having in the exact moment. Seeing them react to everything is hilarious, but how each turtle acts and their mannerisms, so I appreciate that. I feel like the YouTube audience of movie reviewers hears one bad opinion from a reviewer and automatically assumes they dislike everything about that project. That is not what I'm saying. That's not what we're saying. And I can't even lie, I did feel a bit of disappointment coming out of this movie. And in my opinion, it's not because of lack of story. It's just the lack of more of the good parts of that story. That's my biggest pet peeve with a lot of animated movies, actually. There's like 5 different really good aspects you get, and then the movie chooses to focus on that one last remaining not so entertaining aspect. I wish we had gotten more of them being teenagers and goofing off in the sewers. I wish we got more of the villains being villains. They're just kind of plopped in whether we like to admit it or not. Like, sure, they're still really fun. I don't even care for Paul Rudd, and yet this is my favorite character of his ever. But for the most part, they all feel like they're just there to serve and back up Superfly. They have amazing designs, but none of them do any cool tricks or knockouts. It doesn't utilize the celebrity cast that goes with them until like that 5-minute arcade scene. And that's just required in a TMNT movie. You can't have a TMNT movie without an arcade reference. It just feels so 80s, it feels so TMNT. I'm not from the 80s, guys. I don't even know why I'm saying that. Now, for the next part of this video, I got a TMNT expert to come on and talk about their thoughts, also known as my dad, but then it ended up being like 17 minutes of us just rambling about I don't even know what. We got sidetracked like 10 times in this full audio clip. I don't even know what we were talking about, but I did cut some of his main thoughts, so hopefully they make sense. Hey guys, we're with my dad.
All right, hey, what's up?
What is your significance to the channel?
I'm the dadager.
He's here today to do what exactly?
I don't know, like make a review or a little, like tell everybody what I thought of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The art style and the animation's really good. I love the colors and the flow of it. That was really good. It really has the animated feel of like Spider-Man, and I thought that was cool. And it kind of had like, it also had a little bit of a dark side, like the 1984 Ninja Turtles comic vibe, you know, like the early Ninja Turtles vibe.
Yeah. What was your childhood like with TMNT?
My first experiences with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was like probably the TV show.
Because I found out that you didn't even read the comics. You were just introduced by the show.
Yeah, because the comics came out when I was 4, so I didn't know anything about it. So I got introduced to Ninja Turtles when they were on, I don't remember if it was Nickelodeon or if it was like maybe Saturday morning cartoons or something when I was little, but that first initial cartoon comic series, cartoon TV show, was like 1987, so I was like 7 or 8.
Nice. You're old.
Back to Mutant Mayhem. The plot so far for the movie, I think, is meh.
You need to leave!
It wasn't very inspired. Like, hey, we want to go hang out with the humans. Why are we always in the sewer, you know? If we do something heroic, we'll make them love us. I think the only problem is, like, Splinter had no backstory, right? So there was no backstory, and that's kind of the main thing with the Turtles. Like, so they learned all how to be a ninja and stuff for protection for when they go out onto the outside world. So they learned it all by watching television. Meh. You know, that story's like, how are they gonna bring Shredder in?
Yeah, as you guys can tell, my dad is a bit more cynical about movies than me.
Yeah. Especially when I was raised on Ninja Turtles. Like, this has been my world. I can pick up some good things, too. I like that they kept their weapons. I like the art style. It's really cool. I dig it. I think they could do a lot more with it. I think the writing was so-so. The storyline, they could have did better with the story. I do love Seth Rogen, but... No! I wanted to love this movie more than I actually did. So like,
I feel like a lot of people are going to disagree with you.
They might. It was a good movie. It was worth the money to go see it. Good soundtrack. Really good soundtrack. Okay, I won't talk about that.
I told him to skip over too many negative things in case the whole comments are like, don't get your dad on this thing again.
I don't want to diss it. I enjoyed it. It was a good watch. Oh, Superfly. Superfly was cool. I love the character of Superfly. That was cool. I love the actor. The voice acting was great on Superfly.
Ice Cube.
It was awesome. But Superfly had a gang of bad guys with him that literally turned on him in 13 seconds flat.
Okay, what's your rating though?
Voice acting 8.
Okay, the whole movie. Just
The whole
give
movie.
me a ranking. What do
1
you
to
think?
10?
Yeah.
7.5.
There you go. Woo! So there's my dad, guys.
All right.
I think he did a good job. Let us know if you guys want to see awesome dad reviews.
Awesome. Hey, we could do a movie podcast.
The answer to that is the fact that although it has some issues, I think this works as a new opening for TMNT to come back into pop culture in a bigger way due to just its appearance alone. It has everything going for it visually, and that has been hard for this franchise to figure out. I think the franchise before the rise of the TMNT series has struggled to figure out how to expand it, so every single one after the 1990 ones felt like a repeat until like that weird 2007 3D, which kind of hit. That's a reason I'm not totally mad that Mutant Mayhem took such a different approach with its backstory and villain, because we've already had enough of that. Everybody knows about the Turtles and the Foot Clan and Shredder and their rivalry, and repeating that wouldn't make sense and would leave this movie feeling more of a remake than a new franchise start. And so now that they have a new approach and also have a style that has the feel of the comics but also fits the animated movie realm, I think us TMNT fans will have a lot more of this, and we are winning. And regarding the TV series they announced, if they can make that series not look like one of those crude animated shows and actually appealing, it might open the doors for a lot of modern audiences to tune into that show. The movie already has that clippability humor that will make this series popular again in the mainstream. And I'm kind of the opposite of a gatekeeper when it comes to media, so if I like something, I need everybody else to. That's why I make these videos. I love these turtles, I love the characters and the voice casts. It feels so fun, and I want more people to join in on the fun now. So this movie coming out at the perfect time has me in a good mood, and I can't wait to see more animated movies that really say screw it and go full on crazy with the look. I think I've repeated that take 1,000 times in my videos, but let me have this. I feel cool saying it. I want to see a CGI Nightwing animated movie. I can't wait for the Garfield movie and how that's gonna look. I know it's late, but they could make such a cool sci-fi apocalyptic look to a Plants vs. Zombies animated movie. DreamWorks fumbled. I want darker themes. I want cooler environments and colors. So thank you, Mutant Mayhem, for opening the doors even more. That's all I have to say. My voice is dehydrated. Cowabunga!